Welcome to another edition of Tech Tuesday presented by Delta Media Group. Well, we're thinking that if the Army had just asked the Navy for a little bit of the metal they had under their tree, then maybe they could have avoided a whole lot of conflict, right? So today we are going to take a look at the WYSIWYG editor, or the page content editor in the DeltaNET. Now I say page content editor, but it's also the email content editor. There's just a handful of slight differences between the two. So what I'm going to go over is we'll take a look at the page editor first, and this is the WYSIWYG editor you have available to edit page content. So if I go down here to website and pages, we're going to create a new page for the sake of demonstration purposes. So I'm just going to click on new page here, but it is the same editor that would be used for the paragraph about you section, which controls your home page content. And you would get to that by just clicking on your name up here, clicking on profile, and then if you scroll down the page you'll find the paragraph about you section. So in either case, you will find this editor. Now, I won't get too in-depth on just the rich text editor function. Just suffice to say, it works the same way that Word or OpenOffice or LibreOffice or even Apple Pages would work. So I just type out, this is my page heading. And let's say we want to make this a header, so I'll just highlight all my text, and I'm going to go up to Format, Heading, and now it's a heading 1. So I would say that differs from most of your rich text editors. Normally you would just choose the font and the size, which you can still do here, and the color, and the background color, and the alignment, and unordered or ordered lists, so all that stuff is the same. But under formats you can find some more web-related items, because these really are built to, to create web pages. So let's say this is a subheading. And we'll just highlight this, and let's change that to a heading 2 and center it. So that gives you the idea. So just keep in mind you do have some kind of web-specific formatting options available under this Formats dropdown. Beyond that, the next thing you can do with the editor is another kind of web-based thing, or something that differs from a regular rich text editor, is I can go up here to View, and I can go down to View Source. And this will actually show me the source code for this page. Now this could be particularly nice if you do know some HTML or some CSS and you really want to fine-tune how this page is built. You can actually go in here and you can build it out in code. So we'll close that out, and the next thing I have is under Insert. I have the ability to insert some media, and that's not something that you're typically going to find in your your rich text editors. You can insert an image. Usually you can do those in rich text editors also. So if I click on image, I can either put in the URL of an image here. If there's one somewhere on the website, just make sure you have permission to use it, somewhere on the internet rather. But if you have an image on your own computer that you want to put in here, you can click on Browse, and you can see it'll be on your files. But you can go through here, you can create folders if you want to segment your files out. If you want to add a new file, we're just going to click on Upload, and then you would find the file on your computer, and then select it, hit Insert. That would run you through the upload process, and then your photo would be in here. Once it's in here, you just click on it, and that'll add it to your page. The only other thing I'll add about photos is that you can also right-click on those, and you can go down to Edit, and you have a whole series of options here for things that you can do with this photo. So these are, the standard. I can resize it, I can crop it if I want to, but even more than that, I can go down here and I can actually change some elements of the picture itself. So if I wanted to reduce the exposure a little bit, I could do that. Change the saturation a little. Add a blur to it. There we go. So you see that there's a whole lot you can do as far as modifying your photos right here through the DeltaNET, which is nice because it saves you having to make the change and then re-upload the photo. You can just do it all here. So we'll close that out, and then once you have your photo all set up, now I would save that if I wanted to save those changes, but once you have the photo you want all set up in here, you just click on it, and that adds it here automatically as the source. I can change the dimensions here if I want, and then just click on OK, and there's my photo. I can center that like anything else, and then I can also resize it here. So if I didn't change those dimensions, I can just use that to resize. So there you have it. Now the next thing I can do is I can insert media, so that works in much the same way, or actually, well, we'll do link first. So for a link, I can either insert a link, which would be the same as clicking this button here, which this is also a shortcut to insert the image. But what I'll do oftentimes for link is I'll say something like, click here, and then I'll highlight the portion I want to turn into a link, and then I'll click on my link button. That way it fills in the text for me automatically, and then I just put the URL that I want it to link to here. So So let's say I wanted this to go to YouTube. I just type that out, and then if I wanted to open in a new window, I can even go down here and say open new window or target new window. OK, and then my link's all set. Now the next piece I can do, I can insert media also. This would actually embed media on the page. So what I would normally do is paste a YouTube URL here if I wanted to embed a YouTube video, and it'll handle my dimensions for me automatically, and just click OK, and that would put my video in there. Then I can resize it and move it around, much like an image. Or I can click on the Browse button, again just like an image, and I could upload my own media file here. Just keep in mind that this system wasn't really meant to serve video, so it won't perform as well as just pasting in the URL for a YouTube video. Also, you'll have a limited amount of size or file size that you can upload here, whereas you'll have less limitations as far as that goes on the YouTube side. So usually if you're doing video, that's the preferable way to do it. Though we have had people use this for audio recordings also. So you could do an audio recording, upload that here, and then paste a little player. Or basically you would upload your recording and pick it just like you would pick a photo here. That would fill in with the URL of your auto recording, and when you hit OK, it'll actually embed a little player on this page. So that can be kind of neat. So there we go. So those are the basics, kind of the standards of the editor itself. So now, let me go down a couple of lines, and we'll take a look at the special functionality that is related specifically to the page editor. You can find those items right here underneath this icon. So it has the two kind of curly braces here with the 3 dots between them. So if I click on that, you can see the first item we have here is AVM search, which just drops in that little shortcode. The system will replace this shortcode with an AVM quick search. So we'll go ahead and we'll center this just for fun. And I'll go down here and submit. Oh, we need to give it a title first. So we can find it at the end. Test page. It's good to make it easy to find. So we'll go down here and save it. There we are. And now if I click on my link, you can see here's my page. It has my link here set up. If I click this, it opens up YouTube in a new window. And I have my quick search field right here. So you can see that, it filled out all my content appropriately. Now if we head back into the DeltaNet and go down here, let's take out our AVM search form. Now the next thing we can do here is we can create a standard featured listing section. What this does is it looks at your featured listing settings that control the featured listings on your home page, and it uses those same settings to populate the listings here. And that's why I don't have any additional settings. I just put in how many featured listings I want to show, and it'll show as many as I have up to that number. So we'll go ahead and click OK on that one. So there's featured homes. We're going to have 5 of them. We'll submit that. And now if we go back and refresh our page, you can see I only have 2 based on my settings, but if I had 5, it would show all 5 across the page. And those are my featured listings. So now if we move that out of here, the next thing we can do is a custom form. So if I click on Form, these are forms that were created by admins on the company side. So basically the company has to create these forms for you, but once they have, you'll be able to select from them from this drop-down. So let's say new lead form is a good example here. So I'll select the new lead form. We'll say we want it to be on the left side of the page. Why not? I want responses on this form to go to, this is just my public email address set up in here. But you could change that out so that this form does something special if you want. And then you can also go down here and you could say anybody that submits this form and creates a lead, I want that lead to go into a certain customer group. So let's say I wanted that to go into active automatically. I could just select that from that menu. And then I would click Insert Form. That inserts my form. And then we can also add these options here to show the About message or the confirmation message. So we'll hit OK. There it grabbed my form. And I'm going to go down here and submit. And now if we refresh our page, there's my form. And now because I selected that option for the confirmation message, if I fill it out, it's going to take me to that confirmation message. So there we go. We'll take our custom form out of here. The next thing we can do is Featured Listing Advanced. So this is much like the other featured listing, and the section looks roughly the same, but this actually lets me choose the specifics of these featured listings. Now this is particularly nice if I am doing something like a market-based page and I wanted to show some sample listings from that market. I could say show me up to 5. I don't want to look at specific listings, but let's say I do want to look at a specific market. So I'll type in my market name there. I will say I want to include IDX listings in this case because I just want a full sampling, and then I can narrow them down however else I'd like, and go down here and click Insert, and it'll give me that same featured listing section, but just with a different look to it. Or not a different look to it, populate it with different listings based on my criteria here. But it should look essentially the same. So we'll close that out, and that would insert that, that short code the same way that the other one did. Next, we can add a market activity section. So on this one, see, this text will be used as the drop-down choice when multiple activities are on the page. So this allows me to go through and select these different market activities. So for time range, we can do month. We can set our state up here. There we go. Now we've selected a city. We're going to go with Canton. So there we are. There's our market activity section. And now if we go down here and hit submit, and then refresh our page, there we are. So you can see it loaded up with market activity. Now that top field would allow me to define this section here. So when we were setting this up, and we'll go ahead and just put another one here, this would allow me to define what appears above and below, essentially that section, if I want to put more than one market activity section on the same page. Now they're primarily designed so that you would be creating a market-specific page. So you'd have some information about that market, and then you would drop in your market activity section, and then maybe drop in some featured listings from that market, and then have some descriptive text about it. However, those two fields do allow you to add some text above and below, so that you can have more than one of these on a single page if you do want. So there we go. We'll close out our market activity section. We'll leave that one in there. Why not? We're having fun. So the next thing we can do is a quick search form, which is exactly what it sounds like. It just drops in that code, and that'll replace with a be replaced with a regular quick search form. Reviews. We'll grab our most recent reviews and just drop a section on the page that displays those. So those are our customer reviews, or our testimonials. We have an advanced search results section. In fact, let's take a look at these. We'll take a look at that one on its own because it is a larger section here. So if we submit this and then refresh our page, there we go. So you can see we now have a quick search in here. We have our customer reviews section. So we just dropped in our most recent reviews into its own widget here. And that's what that customer review section lays out like. So back into the DeltaNET. Let's get rid of those. There we are. So now let's go with a search results section. So the search results section is actually a full search results section. So keep in mind that it does load up a lot of content, but it lets you create a market page where someone can actually search through and filter the search results just like they would if they were going to a regular search results page. So if I put in Canton here, then we'll just select the city and go down. You see I have all the standard search filters that I would have if I were to be searching for this on the public site. So beds, baths, square feet, things like that. So I can narrow this page down in whatever way makes sense to me based on the kind of page that I'm building. There we go. And then once I have all my filters defined, I click Insert. That drops in that snippet of code. And then if we save this and then go back over to our custom page here, there we go. You can see we now have a whole search results section built out as part of this page. There we go. So we'll take this one out of here. Now the next thing we can do is a gallery section. So we have a video that goes more specifically over the gallery section. But what this does is allows you to create a gallery on your profile page. And then once you've created that photo gallery, you can select from it here. And then you can give that gallery a heading. So you would select your gallery, give a heading that'll show up above the gallery on the page, choose what you want the gallery to look like, and you've got a few different customization options here, and you can attach some keywords to it as well. We can make it autoplay through the images and hit Insert, and you can see it drops in that code in the same way, and then if we save it, that'll show us our gallery. So the key to the gallery setup is, and you can do some really cool stuff with those, but it does start with creating that gallery. So you can see I already had one set up, so these are the pictures I had in that gallery. So it comes out, it looks pretty neat. Now the next thing we have here, get rid of our gallery. We have an agent roster section, so if you did want to show other agents on this page on your website, you have the ability to do that. You would just type out their name, and we'll just grab a few here. Insert. You can see it drops those in here, and then if I view this page, after we save it obviously, there we go. You can see we now have a little agent gallery section there at the bottom. And this one does include an email link. So there are very specific circumstances in which that might be useful. But just know that it is something that is available in there. Now also you'll notice by highlighting that section and then going back and reopening this build or this gallery widget section, it loads up all the same agents so that I can modify that section after the fact. And then I also have some additional options here where I can have a bio page link that goes on each of those. I can have it return as JSON, which would be a very specific way if I were doing something very interesting with this where I just needed JSON data for a bunch of agents. But that's not something that will be useful to you most likely. And then I can also choose to display the email addresses out right there instead of showing an email me button. So we'll go ahead and remove that agent roster section. And then the next piece we have down here, and one of our newer features, is the social media widget section. So if I go down to social media widget and click on this select, what it's doing is it's grabbing all of those that I actually have a social media link inserted for or a social media URL inserted for on my profile page. So if I were to go up here and click on profile and go down through my profile page, there is a social media URLs section, and that's how this knows what to display there. So we're going to say social media link. We'll add a Facebook widget. We can do standard. Advanced just lets us make a couple of minor adjustments to how that thing looks. But we'll leave that alone for now. We'll just leave it on standard. Insert that one. And then right below it we can put we'll put another one. Let's put a Twitter one. There we are. We'll do that one standard as well. And then I'll add that there is an Instagram one here. So if I go down here to social media and I select Instagram, you can see that you need additional permissions basically, or you need to grant the system permissions from your Facebook account in order for it to be able to show Instagram. And it has some information here that kind of describes that further. So once you're all set there, just like the other ones, you would set that all up and then hit Insert Widget. So let's go down here and submit. Now I'll also add that as far as the Facebook widget goes, you have to have a Facebook business page URL entered as one of your social URLs. If it is a personal page, this widget will not work. So it actually does have to be a business page. And you can see once those are in, we have a widget here with my Facebook information, and then right below it's this is actually the White House Twitter, but it was an easy Twitter account to find. So that'll load up your Twitter posts down here in a widget as well. So now if we head back over here, and we'll go ahead and clear both of these out. There we go. Now you've seen what those look like, so we'll add one more social media widget, but if we do Facebook, Advanced, you see we can adjust the size of it a little bit, but we'll hide the cover photo and use a small header also. Insert that one, refresh our page. There we go. So you can see it kind of shrunk that section down and changed the display of that widget a little bit. So that just gives you the ability to go in and sort of customize the way those display. So you have it. Those are the high-level pieces, the custom functionality, and kind of the big pieces that attach to the WYSIWYG editor here for pages. The one other thing that I will point out that is particularly useful and kind of specific to this editor is there is this button hiding right over here. This button allows you to get this content back if you were to lose it. Trust me, it is very useful. But the system will automatically log you out after a certain amount of time. So let's say, for example, you are working on this page and you spend a bunch of time on it, and then your phone rings, you pick it up, and then maybe you move over to another page and you're not looking at it, and the system logs you out. So when you get off your call, you come back and you look, and you've been logged out of the DeltaNET. If you log back in and then go back to the page you were working on, because you didn't save it, all that content would be gone. However, it is saving as you do it under this button. So this button is basically saving to your machine the last thing you did in the editor. So in that scenario, when you go back into the page editor for the page you were working on, if you click this button, it should bring back all of the content that you had entered into it before you got logged out automatically and didn't save. Now that won't work if you close out your browser completely, that would be lost. but as long as your browser was still open, you just got logged out and need to go back in, you can usually recover your content that way. So that is a very handy feature to know about. So there you have it. So let's, from here, go over and take a quick look at the editor that's used for emails. So it is roughly the same editor, but I'm just going to go to Marketing and then down here to Message Blasts. It's just kind of a quick way to get to that editor. So right now we're set up under Email Blasts, so I'm going to go down here. You can see that it's all very similar. Everything works the same. The only thing that is different here is that you do not have all of those special dynamic content sections because they wouldn't really make sense in an email. What you have instead is this system variables section. And what this does is when you're sending this email out to a customer, this allows things to fill in with that customer's name. So if I wanted to say, dear customer name, and I want that to fill in, say I want to send this to 100 people and I want it to fill in with their first name, I could go over here to System Variables and I could say customer first name, and now it's going to fill in with the customer's first name. Welcome to my website. You can visit it here. And now we can go to System Variables and back down here, and there is a website one. There we are, agent domain. So that'll load up with your domain name, which will effectively take them to your home page. So that gives you the idea. Other than that, this editor is exactly the same. The only other thing that I will mention about it is when it comes to inserting kind of dynamic media content, you still have the ability to do that. So I can go up here to Insert, and I can insert media still. But just know that embedded videos or embedded media often doesn't load up in email. So if I were to set this up and embed a video in it and then send that email out, the recipient is probably not going to see that video at all, not even a reference to it. The email client will normally just strip it out completely. So you can put links to things and that works out fine. You can insert pictures, things like that, but if you try to embed a video or embed an audio file or anything like that, those most likely won't come through. So there you have it. Those are the WYSIWYG editors in the DeltaNET, just kind of a high level how those things work, and then also going through some of the specific custom kind of dynamic functionality that you can put on pages and also put into emails. So, as always, thanks a lot for joining me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to give us a call or email us at support@deltagroup.com, and we will be happy to help you out. Thanks a lot.